One of the most disturbing philosophies is termed as existential isolation. And at its core, existential isolation, it talks about the deepest form of loneliness. Not the loneliness of being without people or without anyone, but it's rather the realization that no matter how deeply we communicate, love, or understand each other, there is always a part of every human being which remains inaccessible to everyone else. We can never completely enter the consciousness of another being and experience what it is like to be the other person. All we can give is words, but not the experience itself. So ultimately, it's you who has to live your life, who has to experience your pain, who has to experience the world through your own consciousness, who has to inhabit the memories of those experiences, and who has to make choices. And it's you who has to face your death. People may accompany you, influence you, love you, or even make decisions for you, but nobody can exist for you. And at max, people can accompany you until your death, but no one is gonna die your death for you. And that ultimately is the deepest expression of existential isolation. सो एग्जिस्टेंशियल आइसोलेशन सिंपली ये कहता है कि हर इंसान का चीज़ों को देखने का, समझने का और एक्सपीरियंस करने का जो तरीका है वो अलग होता है. तो आप एक दूसरे को कभी कंप्लीटली समझ नहीं पाओगे. सो दैट रियलाइजेशन के nobody will ever completely understand what it is like to be me. That realization is called as existential isolation. For example, there are two people who are watching the same sunset. Now they can agree on the color of the sunset, on the beauty of the sunset, or on the location of the sunset. But जो उस sunset का experience है, it only exists in each person's own consciousness. And you cannot step into another person's consciousness or another person's mind to know exactly how they feel. All you can do is you can articulate or you can express that experience. You can only give words, but you cannot give that experience itself. So in that sense, existential isolation is a kind of critique on language. Because we invented language so that we could bridge the gap between minds, so that we could communicate and understand each other. But all language did was it gave us words, but not the experience, not the feeling itself. And words, they can be deceptive. But hidden in this deepest form of isolation is the deepest form of freedom. Initially, it may appear terrifying that if nobody will ever understand me completely, then I am fundamentally alone. But eventually, you come to realize that if nobody will ever understand me, if nobody will live or die for me, then my life, it truly, only, and completely belongs to me. What once made you anxious is now what's giving you the freedom. It gives you the total responsibility and the possibility of creating a life that you want for yourself. At the end, we're all separate minds, separate consciousnesses, desperately trying to overcome that separateness. So love, philosophy, friendship, art, poetry, these are all those incompetent yet necessary attempts to bridge that gap between two private worlds. Think about it. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so very much.